안녕하세요. 코치 텐입니다. 기억영어 51번째 스노볼 챌린지 시작하겠습니다. 오늘 하면요. 우리 네 번째 공간 대주제였던 회사 관련된 게 끝이 납니다. 그래서 오늘 거 일단 하고요. 다음 52번째에서는요. 1번부터 4번까지를 한 번에 묶어서 한 600개 넘어가는 거 한 번에 할 거고요. 오늘은요. 다 해보니까 188개입니다. 188개를 도전할 거고 일단 5개 기억 폴더 먼저 하고 그 다음에 이어서 가보겠습니다. 바로 가볼게요. 자, 아무것도 안 보고 가는 겁니다. 188개. 자, 일단 시작합니다. 자, 기억 폴더는 5개고요. 공장에 이제 작업 테이블 근처에 있는 기억 폴더를 쓸 겁니다. 5개가 어떻게 되냐면 작업 테이블, 그 다음에 이 작업 안경, 보호 안경, 그 다음에 작업 보호 장갑, 그 다음에 그 도면이라고 그래요. 도면, 블루프린트 또는 the plan 이렇게 하면 됩니다. 그 다음에 마지막 공급 박스 5개입니다. 자, 일단 5개 먼저 하고 나머지 전체 이어서 가보겠습니다. 준비, 할 말 떠올리고요. Go. I go to the work table. I stand in front of the work table. I get ready for work. I work at the work table. And I clean the work table. I pick up a safety glass. I pick up a safety glass. I put on my safety glass. I take off my safety glass. I pick up my safety gloves. I put on my safety gloves. I take off my safety gloves. I pick up a blueprint, the plan. I spread the plan on the table, and I read the plan. I follow the plan to work. I pick up the toolbox. I put the toolbox on the working table. On the work table, I open the toolbox. I take out some tools from the toolbox. I put the toolbox under the table. 됐습니다. 잘 나왔고요. 자, 그러면 이제 회사 4개를 한 번에 가는 겁니다. 사무실, 미팅룸, 그 다음에 휴게실, 그리고 마지막 공장까지 쭉 가겠습니다. 준비, 할 말 떠올리고요. 준비, go. I go to my office. I get into my office. I go to my desk. I sit down at the desk. I get ready to work. I pick up my ID card. I put on my ID card around my neck. I use my ID card. I clock in. I clock out. I turn on my computer. I use my computers. I check my emails. I make a proposal to use my computers. I pick up a pen. I use the pen. I draw mind map with the pen. I make a business plan. I use Excel, I use PowerPoint, the software program, and I print out the business plan. There's a calendar on the desk. I look at the calendar, I check the dates on the calendar, and I check my schedules for my clients. There are some business cards on the desk. I pick up some business cards. I open my wallet. I put some business cards into my wallet. I meet my coworkers. I see my coworkers. I say hello to them, and I have a small talk with them. I go to the printer. I use the printer. I press the button. I copy the business plan. I go to the fax machine. I wait for a moment. I receive the fax from my customers. I send the fax to my customer. I go to the meeting room. I get into the meeting room. I open the door. I get into the meeting room. I close the door. I turn on the light. I turn off the light in the meeting room. I turn on the switch. I turn off the switch in the meeting room. I stand in front of the reservation board. I check the reservation board. I look at the reservation board. I write down my name and time on the board. And I book a meeting room. I check the time. I go to the table. I sit down at the table. I get ready for the meeting with my clients. I bring my laptop. I open my laptop. I search for the presentation file. I use the PowerPoint. I turn off my laptop. I use the beam projector. I turn on the beam projector. I connect the beam projector to my computers. I turn off the beam projector. I pick up a microphone. I turn on the microphone, I use the microphone, I turn off the microphone. I pick up a laser pointer, I use the laser pointer, I press the button, I keep holding on it. I go to the whiteboard, I stand in front of the whiteboard, I draw a mind map on the board, I write down my ideas on the board. I pick up a marker, I use the marker, I pick up an eraser, I use the eraser, I erase the whiteboard. I go to the step lounge, the break room, I check the time, it's break time. So I get into the break room, I go to the water purifier, I stand in front of the water purifier, I press the button, I drink some water. I pick up a coffee mix, I open the coffee mix, I put the coffee mix into the cup, I pour hot water into the cup, I stir it, and I make a cup of coffee, I drink a cup of coffee. I pick up a paper cup, I use the paper cup, I pour some water into the cup, I drink some water. I go to the refrigerator, open the refrigerator, I take out the orange juice bottle from the refrigerator, I close the refrigerator. There are some snacks on the trolley next to the refrigerator. I go to the trolley, I pick up some snacks, open the snacks, I eat some snacks. I feel a bit hungry, I go to the toaster, I use the toaster, I press the button, I put 2 slices of bread into the toaster, I wait for 30 seconds, I take out the toaster from the toaster. And I go to the coffee machine, I press the coffee machine, I use the coffee machine, I make a cup of coffee, I drink a cup of coffee. I go to the sink, I turn on the water, I wash the dishes, I turn off the water. I pick up a glass cup, I pour some orange juice into the cup, I drink some orange juice. And I pick up a plate, I use the plate, I put up toast on the plate. I enjoy the toast. I pick up a fork and knife, I use the fork and knife, I eat the toast with jam to use the fork and knife. I go to the trash can, open the trash can, I throw the trash into the trash can, I close the trash can. I go to the factory. I go to the main gate of the factory. I open the main gate, I close the main gate, I unlock the main gate, I lock up the main gate. There's a forklift next to the main gate. I go to the forklift, I get on the forklift, I start the engine, I drive the forklift, I use the forklift to work. There is an air compressors next to the main gate. I go to the air compressor, I turn on the compressor, I use the compressor, I turn off the compressor. There's a fire extinguishers next to the main gate for safety. I pick up the fire extinguishers, I check the expiration date on it, and I put it back on the rack. I go to the break room, it's time to break, so I get into the break room. I go to the sofa, I stand on the sofa, I take a rest on the sofa for 10 minutes. I get out of the break room. I open the cabinet, I put my backpack into the cabinet, I close the cabinet. And I pick up my helmet, I put on my helmet, I take off my helmet, I use my helmet for safety. I pick up my uniform, I put on my uniform, I take off my uniform, I zip up the zippers, I unzip the zippers. I take out my safety boots, I put on my safety boots, I take off my safety boots. I tie the safety boots up and I untie the safety boots. I go to the work table, I stand in front of the work table, I get ready for work, I work at the work table and I clean the work table. I pick up my safety glass, I put on my safety glass, I take off my safety glass. I put on my safety gloves, I take off my safety gloves, I pick up my safety gloves. I pick up a blueprinter, the plan, I spread the plan on the table, I read the plan, I follow the plan to work. And I pick up a toolbox, I put the toolbox on the table, I open the toolbox, I take out some tools from the toolbox, I close the toolbox, I put the toolbox under the table. 됐습니다. 네, 양이 좀 많네요. 네, 다 했고요. 다음 시간에는 이제 좀 빡센 거 갈 겁니다. 한 30분 될 것 같은데 4개의 주제를 한 번에 묶어서 할 겁니다. 어떻게? 우리 집 4개, 그 다음에 이동수단 4개, 학교 4개, 그리고 오늘까지 한 거 회사 4개를 묶어서 가겠습니다. 네, 그러면 이렇게 해서 마무리하겠습니다. 감사합니다.